We have started this year with a book about grooming and the disturbing aspects of child predators. This entire idea is disturbing, right? And our very first book, the very first book I introduced you to on this channel, was The Groomer by John Nathan. Wow. It's been 40 titles ever since, and quite some book versus movie um, episodes, and me promoting my own book, as well as some poetry recitings. I suggest we finish this wonderful year with a similar topic. Welcome. This is Check That Book, a special place on YouTube where we get acquainted with arguably the most disturbing pieces of literature ever written. And today is the day for Mysterious Skin by Scott Heim, or Haim. Again, I'm not perfect with pronunciations. If you have heard of this title, then most likely you have heard of the film. The film we shall discuss and compare to the book sometime later on this channel when we get to book versus movie. For now, the book itself, what's it about? If you have not seen the film, and if this title doesn't sound familiar to you, then brace yourselves. I spoke of the groomer in the beginning of the video for a reason. This dramatic and sad story is also about this, but yeah, we have two boys here, and I'm trying not to get into the spoiler territory, but two boys that are both victims of an essay, and how they deal with it, how they grow up with it, and how differently it affects both of them. It's talked about in the book so well that it almost feels like a case study. One of the boys tries to recall what had happened, right? And I believe it's his body and his memory, his psyche trying to protect him, which is why he doesn't even realize what has happened. And that's where where we get the alien subplot and what he believes might have happened to him, that he's been a victim of an abduction or something like that. That's interesting to see how his mind copes with the situation by leading him to believe that it was something supernatural, which is actually terribly sad, but interesting to read nonetheless, especially for those who are curious about how our psyche tends to protect us from certain things. That is a perfect example. And the other boy, he knows very well what happened, and how he turns out to be, how he grows up knowing that he's the promiscuous type. His behavior is completely different to the one of the other lad. And yeah, we follow their lives, basically. It's a very interesting case study book, as I would call it. It's wrong to call it that way, but it reminds me of those. It's like two separate ways, two separate arcs. But when they meet each other towards the end, and what comes of it, that can put a tear in your eye. It is a coming-of-age drama that is rather sad and depressing, because it makes you feel as if humanity has failed us, that things like this happen, and they do. Child abuse, sexual abuse, yes, let's call it the way it is. It's pedophilia, and it happens all the time, all over the world. Why do I feel like I came full circle? Because I haven't rewatched my video on the groomer, but I believe I might have said something similar. Yeah, in that key, at least. but it happens. And unfortunately, many people don't realize how close this might be going on to you personally, even, and next door. You never know. Which is why, again, I believe that such books are cautionary tales. I don't see them as disrespectful or exploitive, especially if they are written well. At some points, reading such books, this one in particular, you might stop for a moment and think to yourself, well, I hate this. I hate this. And yet, it's written so well and it's so compelling that you continue reading it. More often than not, just to make sure that it ends well. This one, yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is psychologically satisfying, sort of. I mean, the book comes full circle, and my video today is full circle after everything that we've been through. At the end of February this year, I've started this channel, and in March, I published my first video, I think. So yes, it hasn't even been a full year for the channel yet. So I'm still relatively young and fresh. This channel is, at least. And by this time, we have, let me check. It's going to be happening live right now. 117 subscribers, you guys. That's a lot of people, actually. No, seriously. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, I could fill up a hall with 117 people, myself included, and we could, have discussions and recommend cool or not so cool books to each other, for some to, shake someone up, to some for, an entertaining, interesting read, or as a cautionary tale. Some people are looking for this sort of content. Or, if you're a sick fuck like me, then sometimes you just need to know how bad can it get. This one is not the case. Today's book, what I've briefly described to you right now, it's a whole another kettle of fish, really. It's a well-written story that has a good film adaptation as well. And yeah, it's one of those cases where both versions are seriously well done, I think. It's an interesting story. It's a sad one. So what makes it so disturbing besides pedophilia, which should be disturbing? It's the fact that both boys were abused at the same time by the same person, and they reach out to each other. I mean, this one, I wouldn't call him the weaker one. They both react to the situation differently, and I think they both, it's their coping mechanisms, really. In the case of, the first case, it's, canceling it out and believing it to be something else, like an alien abduction, whatever, but it's not an SA. And in the other case, it's, yeah, I know what it was, but I'm exploring my sexuality. I don't give much of a shit. I am this badass, I'm gonna be causing some trouble, and he does. It's still a coping mechanism. But at the end of the book, the conversation they have when they finally meet each other after such a long time, yeah, it's a good read, emotional read, I would say. Again, if you're very sensitive about these subjects that I've mentioned, then maybe stay clear. But it's not your average gross splatterpunk stuff that we tend to look at on this channel quite often. And that is Mysterious Skin for you. I didn't want to burden you too much today. Today is a special day. We say goodbye to 2024. And this time, I am taking this responsibility to wish you all a happy new year. And if I had myself a glass of champagne, I would toast you, but it's a bit too early for that. Maybe later. Have fun in a safe way. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones as usual. What else is there to say? I'm not that good at communicating with the public when it comes to just random talking, which is one of the reasons perhaps we didn't do a live stream this year. But I think I might have promised you that at some point, so guilty as charged. I have the necessary apparatus to do that. So hopefully in January we will be able to sit down and chat. But not just chat. I mean, I promised I would play a game. I mean, in that way, I won't feel as lonely, because something tells me not many people will be joining the live stream. We don't have. I mean, 117 people is awesome. I'm very grateful to all of you. Seriously, no jokes. But live stream, yeah, it will happen eventually. Anyway, I remember that. I keep it in mind. So don't worry if you were wondering about it and why isn't it happening. It will. There will be more content. I still have a lot to cover, specifically book versus movie ones. There are some truly decent adaptations and not so decent ones, which might arguably be even more interesting to talk about. But it all awaits us in 2025. You guys are really amazing. And once again, I take this moment to not just remind you to take a glimpse at my own book, Misanthropically Inclined, that is available on Amazon in the countries I've mentioned before, but I'll mention again, hard copies aren't available everywhere. Not yet, at least, but we'll see what we can do. I am aware that there have been shipping issues. I see you. I understand. But so far, so good. If you can find alternatives, there are normally the US ships almost everywhere, I believe. But again, almost. So far, so good. The ebook is available also in such countries as India, Mexico, Brazil, Japan. So, yes, if you guys are somewhere there, I mean, Kindle ebooks are actually relatively cheap to purchase, so you can try that also. But nothing beats the hardback quality, of course. That's I even the smell of the book. You know what I'm talking about? If you are a reader like me, then I think you know what I'm talking about. so, meanwhile, me and Elvis here would like to wish you all a productive and healthy 2025. We will see each other soon. I mean, you will see me, and I will just pretend that I'm talking to you. And actually, I'm talking to the eye of the camera, but I know that it is going to be all over the YouTube, the global net, and that there's a chance that a lot of people will actually see me yap about stuff I like and maybe don't like, but curious about nonetheless, which is disturbing literature and disturbing cinema to a degree. Thank you so much for supporting me as an author, for supporting me as content creator here on YouTube. Means a lot. You have no idea. Wow. Happy New Year. Be mindful. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. And I will see you next year. Goodbye.